Mankind faces a battle against extinction. Siena, Italy. 6 months after the plague invades Europe, thousands are dead. Annulo de Turin. Local businessman, town chronicler. Barricades his family inside their home. The killer outside must not come in. Annulo uses fire and smoke to ward off the plague. No one suspects it's carried by rats.
You don't know what the real cause is. It could be the air, it could be the water. And so you have this sensation around you of something building up, but you don't know what it is.
The plague takes 10 years to cross Asia, moving slowly from village to village. But Europe is the perfect breeding ground. Hundreds of cities, 80 million people living in close quarters.
These cities had all the conditions to sustain the plague: filth, squalor, the rodents that were just considered part of natural life at that point, and nobody considered that these rodents and their fleas could potentially be a problem. Then you had this massive number of people all packed together in these small dwellings, and the exact sort of situation you would want if you were trying to cause a plague epidemic.
The plague has entered Annulo's home, infecting his wife, Nicoluccia.
If you've ever seen bubonic plague, it's very gross. A huge purple growth takes place, which creates psychological trauma, havoc, incredible fear.
Annulo tries anything, everything.
Vomit regularly, especially at the first sign of any illness.
Drink a glass of your own urine twice a day.
Apply an ointment to the bubo made of honey, egg yolks, and scorpion oil to draw out the poison.
Avoid sex, baths.
Finally, plague doctor, his hood filled with herbs for protection. His treatment: drain the disease out.
Physicians would try any desperate measure they could find. Bloodletting was tried, leeches were used, none seemed to work. In fact, the smartest thing a doctor could do was stay away from the patients, because inadvertently we were taking the bacteria from one patient to the next.
All the while, plague bacteria are mutating, finding new ways to reproduce and spread. They no longer need to be carried by fleas. They are airborne.
The airborne plague is fundamentally different because it now can be transmitted from human being to human being.
The kill rate was 75%. Now, nearly 100. In 6 months, 31,000 people, 60% of Siena, wiped out.
More than 2 out of every 3 families decimated, clans decimated, everybody decimated.
I, Agnolo de Tour, buried my children with my own hands. There was no one who wept for any death, for all awaited death.
Fear and panic sets in. You're asking yourself, what's causing this? Did I do something wrong? Did I forget to go to church? And each symptom seems like the devil is doing it.
The overwhelming theory was an avenging God. Somehow, this was the anger of God causing this disease.
Now, disaster tests mankind's faith. Avignon, France. Home to Pope Clement VI. One of the most powerful men in the world, controlling vast armies and enormous wealth.
When plague hits Avignon, the people expected the Pope to come to their salvation, to go and intercede to God to stop the plague.
But Clement VI can't stop the plague. It devastates Avignon, killing 1,300 people in a single day. Pope Clement buys a field, buries 11,000 people. It is not enough. He tries a radical solution. He consecrates the River Rhone as a floating cemetery.
As bodies floated down the Rhone River, people realized the Pope could do nothing for them. Either God wasn't listening, or worse.
Fear and loss turn to rage. The mob wants someone to blame. All over Europe, the hunt is on for a scapegoat. (1349). Plague rages across Europe. Mankind is at its weakest, most irrational. Searching for someone to blame. Strasbourg, Germany. Plague hasn't hit here yet, but rumors spread faster than the disease itself of a diabolical plot. They say the Jews are poisoning the drinking water.
This was the Middle Ages. This was before the scientific revolution and the scientific method. You had a world that was rife with superstition, anger, confusion, and unfortunately, that often bubbled off into prejudice.
Ever since the 6th century BC, when their homeland was conquered, Jewish people have created thriving communities around the planet. Today, 26 countries have Jewish populations over 10,000. fear grips mankind. Minorities are an easy target. The authorities in Strasbourg try to protect them, posting guards in their streets. But isolation breeds contempt. The mob takes the law into its own hands. February 14th, St. Valentine's Day Massacre. Jews of Strasbourg are given a choice: convert or die. "1,000 Jews are burned alive. But the massacre does nothing to save the city. 5 months later, the plague appears, claiming another 16,000 victims. All over Europe, great cities lie deserted. An eyewitness reports,
Shops are shut, people rare. A deep silence in almost every place. Consider what we were and what we've become. There was a crowd of us. Now we're alone.
mankind rendered powerless by tiny bacteria. Across Asia and Europe, the plague kills over 50 million people in 15 years. But isolation can protect us. The Atlantic Ocean has stopped the plague reaching the Americas. The key to mankind's future in the hands of visionary leaders. 200 years after Genghis Khan, a young Inca warrior prepares himself for battle. Pachacuti. Courageous, dynamic, inspired. A vision of the sun god drives him into a mighty battle that will create the empire of the Incas.
Pachacuti had an enormous sense of himself. The name means world shaker. He gave himself the name of, I am the conqueror of the world.
The Americas are home to 90 million people, living in total isolation from the rest of mankind. In this new world, there are no horses. They've been hunted to extinction. No iron tools. No wheeled vehicles. But the key to life in the Andes, high altitude agriculture.
This is a mountainous people, a mountainous society. And so if you want to have available farmland, you have to build terraces along the mountain slopes. And when you go through the Andes today, you see the remains of terraces everywhere.
Thousands of feet above sea level, they cultivate crops totally unknown to the rest of the world. Potatoes, tomatoes, corn. "60 years later, the Spanish bring these superfoods back to Europe. A key moment in shaping the diet of mankind. But the riches of their land make the Incas a target. To keep their territory, they need to defend it. Pachacuti will have to fight against a fearsome enemy, led by a dead king. The story of mankind is shaped by men of destiny. Pachacuti, leader of the Incas. His enemy, the Chancas, bloodthirsty warriors. They use the bones of their enemies as trophies. Their goal? Crush Pachacuti and capture the Inca capital, Cusco. Leading the Chancas into battle, Uzcavilca. Powerful, ruthless, and dead. In life, he initiated the Chanca reign of terror. In death, he speaks through his priests.
In the Andes, the ancestors are very much present in people's lives, and so important people are mummified.
Long before the Egyptians, the people of South America preserved their dead. Children, adults, whole families. The oldest mummies have survived for 7,000 years. With Uzcavilca leading them, Chanca warriors feel invincible. They outnumber the Incas and take no prisoners. But Pachacuti has a plan.
The goal was to try to capture the mummified body of it. If you could topple Uzcavilca, then victory was yours.
He believes in something more powerful than Uzcavilca. Inti, the sun god, the most important god in Inca mythology. The night before the battle, Inti comes to him in a dream and promises him a glorious victory.
Pachacuti seizes the idea of portraying himself as the living sun, Inti himself, embodied by the power of the sun.
Pachacuti's father has fled. His brother has fled. But he chooses to stay and lead the Incas into battle.
You go about proving yourself to your men by setting the example and saying, you know what? I might die today, but that's okay, because I was born to do this. And I guarantee it, every true leader that's ever went into combat has felt that way.
Pachacuti taunts the Chancas, stoking their anger. He holds his men back, maintains the discipline, until they unleash a volley of stones. Every time I went into combat, it had everything to do with the will to win. That's what wins battles. Pachacudi makes his move. Inca legend recalls his bravery.
The young prince threw himself at the enemy. He was so agile and fast, he terrified Escavilda's bodyguards.
Chunkas vanished.
The Incas' victory over the Chunkas was legendary. They never stopped talking about it. They never stopped celebrating it.
Pachacudi will kickstart the biggest empire ever seen in the Americas. Most of modern-day Chile, Bolivia, and Peru united under Inca rule. And to link their territory, a network of trails stretching 25,000 miles over some of the steepest terrain on Earth. At the end of the trail, Machu Picchu, Pachacudi's palace in the clouds, unknown to the rest of mankind. But the isolation of the Americas is coming to an end. In Europe, survivors of the plague will rebuild, launching a new era of conquest and exploration. That'll lead to the discovery of the new world.
إن أعجبكم موضوع اليوم من قناة كل ما تريد معرفته، فلا تبخلوا بالإعجاب والاشتراك.